Hey everyone, I just realized that my lighting isn't ready. Whew, sorry. I was so ready to get started, I wasn't even ready. Welcome everyone. Hello, welcome to my channel. Hope you guys are having a great day. Having some issues with my allergies today. Okay. Last night was the season finale of Sister Wives. Can you believe it? We're over. It's done. It's all done. This whole season, 15 episodes of nothing resolved. So you guys, if you were waiting for them to resolve their housing issue, it didn't happen. If you thought that they would close on their house with Robyn, didn't happen. If you expected to see some sort of resolution between Kody and Meri, didn't happen. And if you thought that, they would start building on Coyote Pass, didn't happen. So what did happen in the season finale? Well, before we go there, what has happened this season? This season, we have seen Robyn and Kody squabble about buying versus selling, or buying versus renting for a new home. They've discussed a one-home idea, and that got squashed by Christine. Janelle and Meri and Robyn all had to move from rentals to other rentals, and Robyn had to buy. We saw Mariah and Audrey for one episode where they talked about her wedding, and let's see what else happened this season. A whole lot of bickering about Robyn and Kody, and yeah, that pretty much sums up the season. All right, so this is a joint stream again with Facebook and with YouTube. YouTube videos will be uploaded after we are done if you miss this replay, if you miss the live stream. So let's get into the episode, you guys. Okay, so here is where we're at. Last night, it started out with Maddy. And they had been, it starts off actually with Christine and Janelle. And they are sitting on the couch and they're talking about everything going on with Maddy. And Janelle talks about how she's been in North Carolina for 12 days. Originally, Kody and Christine came with her. And then after Maddy didn't actually go into labor, Christine and Kody left. But then 2 days before Maddy's due date, Christine came back so that she could help. And with Axel, because they have a 2-year-old son. And Janelle says that it's extremely helpful to have someone there, so she's super happy that Christine came. And when Christine arrives, Janelle tells her she's been getting really close, but then nothing happens. She's really unhappy. She wants this baby out. She's at that part of her pregnancy where she's just done. Yeah. So she says they're done. Maddy and Caleb arrive home from a walk. They ask her how the walk goes, and they admit that the exercise was great, but I don't think that's going to help the baby come. So then they go back to the couch, and Janelle and Christine kind of open up about how they had an interesting relationship because they had the bulk of the kids for the Browns, and the two of them seemed to have kids sort of one would have one, another one would have one, back and forth. And Christine's kids are a little bit younger. Yeah, she's got a couple younger kids than Janelle. Janelle did her kids way faster than Christine did. But because they both had 6 children, they admitted that they kind of relied a lot on each other. They would go to one another when they were having issues, but they never really thought about it as the kids only having a single mom, because all the moms were sort of involved in the upbringing, especially when they were living in Utah, kind of all in one house. They did a lot of co-parenting together, and they said that Christine actually said it was super natural for her to go to Janelle because they raised their kids together and they had kids at the same age. And they brought up Meri briefly, and they're like, yeah, well, then Mariah was kind of in there. Interestingly, Meri is not at all in this video. She's not at all one time, not once is she in this actual episode. And the couch is only Christine and Janelle, or Christine, Kody, and Janelle. Robyn isn't there, and Meri's not there, which is weird because even when the other ladies aren't featured on the show, they still sit on the couch and talk about it, right? But they weren't even there to talk about it. Like, Robyn wasn't there to even talk about how much love she loves Evie. You know what I mean? Because, like, Robyn's always, like, talking about how she loves babies. So Robyn only makes a brief appearance on this episode, and Meri's not in it at all, which is kind of weird. So in her explanation for why Robyn and Meri aren't there, this is weird. Robyn has her hands full with the kids and having to move. Okay, I buy that a little bit. And then she says, and Meri's just a workaholic. So, she just, it just made more sense. It made way more sense for Christine to be here than anyone else. And Christine's face when she says that Meri's there because she's working, her face is like this. You're going to commit to that lie. All right. Because it's pretty clear that the reason why Meri's not there is because Meri and Maddy don't get along. Actually, last year on Twitter, Maddy went out and talked about how she spent her entire life around a person that was an ABUSIVE monster, insinuating that it was Meri. So the two of them don't have a relationship, and Kody already implied earlier in a joint therapy session that she didn't have good relationships with some of the kids. And I think it's fair to say that Meri has zero to no relationship with Maddy, and Maddy doesn't like her. So they could have just been truthful there, but they lied. Okay. So, and then she says that Maddy has always been really close to Christine, so it just makes sense. It just makes sense for Christine to be here. And it's sweet. I mean, Christine is super sweet, and she's, like, really happy about it, and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, Caleb actually has to go out of town for work, and they're about 2 days away from her due date, and so they're worried about Caleb actually being stuck, like, hours and hours away from the birth center, because if you remember, the birth center is, like, 2 hours from where Maddy lives. And he would actually be about 2 hours away working if everything sort of works out that way. So there was some concern there about whether or not he would be able to make it. He's an elevator mechanic, if you're wondering. And so Kody's on call, and so what they were going to do is once she goes into labor, they were going to call Kody, and he was going to jump on a plane. Can you imagine just having that extra cash flow and being like, I'm going to buy a last-minute plane ticket, because you know that last-minute plane tickets are not cheap. Imagine. Kody never does anything planned. So they're nervous about Caleb being out of town, but they get through it. So then we go to Robyn and Kody. And this is probably one of the more interesting parts of this video, of the actual episode. So they sort of talk about their whole issues with, like, they got the rental, then they had to move out of the rental, and then blah, 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 and we fought about, like, where we're going to buy, where we're going to rent, like, all that stuff that's happened all the way. And so they go to the mortgage place, which I can only describe as the most scripted period of time, because I've done a lot of meetings. I bought several homes, and I've never gone to the mortgage place to talk to the mortgage lender about the status of our loan. They didn't talk about closing. They were literally going there to call for a status update. They could have just called on the phone. But instead, they sit down with him, and so they go to the mortgage place to see what's going on with their loan. And then Kody tells the lender that we were resistant to buying, like pretending like it was him and Robyn that were resistant to buying. And, like, we know we waited a little bit long, so, like, the paperwork maybe got delayed on that perspective. And Robyn's just like, it's my fault. But she doesn't say that. In an interview where she and Kody are sitting on the couch, she's like, it was my fault. It was my fault. I totally delayed this. I should have just not made this. And he's like, but love, I wasn't going to back the truck over you. That's a first, Kody. So he says that he's going to shield Robyn from the blame of waiting so long. The appraisal comes in, $20,000 over asking price or purchase price, which is good. And apparently the file is not out of underwriting because which Kody has, is like, it could be a qualifying problem or a paperwork problem. If it's a paperwork problem, that's fine. But if it's a qualifying problem, we're screwed. Kody admits to the lender that the situation is unique because they're all in this together. So Kody calls Robyn. So while they're sitting down, or Robyn calls Kody. So while they're sitting down with the lender, Robyn goes, I always call Kody the troublemaker because anytime he gets involved with one of these things, it always takes longer. And she says that it's because of all of the interconnected. So basically, all of their finances are connected. Kody's on a million different mortgages. And because of that, they had to get the assets of the other wives and the incomes of the other wives. So we know that Robyn doesn't really have a job. So how they're going to qualify for this humongous mortgage is really beyond me. I wonder if they had to use Meri to qualify, to be honest. Could you imagine? Anyways, and Kody's just like, but we're in this together, love. And Robyn's like, but I'm not married to 3 other women. So, you for the first time see her basically admit that she does not want to be a plural wife. She's literally like, I'm not. You're the one that's married to all these women. If we just got rid of all these women, it wouldn't be a problem, Kody. And he's just like, ugh. He's like, I'm on 4 mortgages. He asks the lender if they feel like they're going to get approved, and they say they have a really strong file, so it probably will go through. And the lender admits this is the first polygamous family that he's worked with. And Robyn's just like, it's my fault for dragging my feet. I just shouldn't have dragged my feet. I should have just committed. And Kody's like, I'm not saying that that's actually, I can't guarantee that you dragging your feet was why everything got delayed. He literally just said that's why it got delayed, because she dragged her feet. What is it, Kody? Did she drag her feet? When you threw her under the bus with the lender, you said it was because she dragged her feet. But now it's like, but Robyn, you didn't drag your feet. I can't even guarantee that's really why this happened, Robyn. So I'm not really sure. Whatever. All right, so back to Maddy. Maddy gets to her due date, and she's done. She's done being pregnant. She gets to her midwife, and she says, Maddy's like, I'm fat and bitchy. Don't have a baby in the summer. I love that about her. And Janelle says that Caleb is super, patient with her. So they go to the birthing center, and the midwife actually talks to her about, what's she going to do? And this is the part where these words will haunt you. You know how, when you say something in an interview, and it's like, well, that didn't age well. Yeah. She's, talking about how she doesn't want to deliver in a hospital because she wants to deliver the way she wants to deliver, because birth is not an emergency. And you only go to a hospital for an emergency. So if she wants to deliver in a tub or in a shower, she should have every right to do that. She will be able to, she has that choice to do whatever she wants to do. And she doesn't need to be in a hospital. But we'll see why she should have been in a hospital at the end of this episode. So, the interesting thing here is we've got some stickers here. And Angela sent a super sticker. Michelle sent one. Thank you guys. And we have a brand new member. Thank you, Pink is my RX, for joining. Okay. So, she's talking about how she's 4 centimeters. She's 50% effaced. They're debating about whether or not they're going to strip her membranes. She's like, it's pretty uncomfortable if you do it. It doesn't actually guarantee that anything will happen. She wants to talk to Caleb about it, but because he is out of town and because of where she's at, it could really get things set in motion and get things started right off the bat. So she wasn't so sure about it, and she said it really hurts. So she wants to talk to Caleb before she makes the choice. Janelle and Christine are like, you have to do it. I mean, you got to. And then they're like, well, no, you have to do what's right for you. And then Janelle and Christine laugh about, is this what monogamy is like? You have to check in with your husband? They're like, we don't ask Kody about anything. How involved do you think that Kody is with these kids? Do you think he's actually involved? Because they both admit they never actually consult or check with Kody about things for the house. So Christine says, when I wanted to go visit McKelty, she said, well, I have to ask Tony to see if you can come, if it'll work with him. And Christine's like, why? Why would you have to ask Tony? Well, because Tony's not living there part-time, Christine. He actually has a full-time position, not only as a husband, but as also an employee. Go figure. How much you want to bet that Kody sees his kids very rarely, especially the ones that are connected to Christine and Janelle. I have a high doubts that he sees them very frequently. Okay. Home, and he's like, when the moms are away, who's staying with Christine's kids? Christine still has little kids. Who's got her kids? Does Robyn have her kids? I'm totally... Anyways, Grandma is staying with the teenagers. Yeah, the 16-year-old and the 18-year-old has Grandma staying with them. All right, anyways, Kody proves again that he has very limited contact with his children because Gabriel is sitting on the couch doing his homework, and he's decided that he's going to skip his entire senior year and complete his entire senior year in the summer so that he can get a full ride to go to Northern Arizona University. And so Cody's like this, I don't know how I got all these smart kids. I was such a bonehead. And I thought, you were? Past tense? Aren't you still? So he said he wants to do it because he could get a full scholarship here at NAU. And he's doing all of his coursework into 3 months. He's doing his entire senior year in 3 months. That's some dedication. So he says that he misses Vegas, but he could get a better deal than going to NAU than going to UNLV. And then Kody just talks about how his kids are so smart. And he proves again that he barely talks to Gabe because he's just like, what are you doing again? I mean, your mom said you were doing something, but... Well, this again, Kody, would be why you guys should talk about your kids. I don't know. Maybe if you actually went over to Janelle's house once in a while and you weren't always with Robyn. Oh, he is such a part-time dad. All right, so Maddy then, back to Maddy over in North Carolina, her water breaks. She literally steps out of the truck and it's like, and you see the water all underneath her feet. She's in a lot of pain. They drive, Christine drives them to the birth center. They get there. Maddy jumps in the tub because Caleb's not there, and she says that going into the tub will stall the labor. I don't think that's how it works. I think the baby comes out when it's ready to come out. She calls Caleb. Caleb's driving. He doesn't want to get pulled over, so he's going to be there as soon as he can be there. And she really wants Caleb there. She's going to wait as long as possible to push before Caleb gets there. Janelle, so finally when Caleb gets there, I mean, poor Maddy is in so much pain. When Janelle gets there, or Caleb gets there, they decide that they're going to push. They don't have the cameras on. You can hear her delivering and all of the painful laboring and blah, blah, blah. And then Caleb stays up with Maddy, and Janelle actually gets to catch the baby, which is really sweet. Janelle said it was really exciting. But it was right after the birth that things go sideways. And this is where I'm saying that this is a situation where Maddy's words kind of come back to haunt her, because things can go sideways quickly, both for the woman or for the baby. And so in this case, baby Evie was having trouble breathing, and she was having something called TTN, where the lungs still have fluid in them and they're not getting rid of that fluid. She's not absorbing the fluid that comes when she goes through. And because of that, she can't control her oxygenation stats. So she's her coloring keeps changing. So they have to put her on oxygen, but that doesn't help anything. So then they have to call the ambulance, and then the ambulance comes. Poor Christine is outside with Caleb, with Axel, and she says it's one of the scariest times in her life, because she's never gone through anything like this with a baby. Amazing that you got through 6 babies without any complications. Count yourself blessed. So they finally pick her. The ambulance arrives. They get Evie hooked up. they don't want Maddy to actually see her get hooked up or put in the isolette, because they end up putting her on an isolette and they hook her up with an oxygen cannula. And they take them to the hospital, but Maddy can't go because she's just had the baby and she's bleeding a lot, so they have to get her stabilized. And while they're actually like, they take the baby, Kody arrives, he's with Maddy and Janelle. Caleb goes with Evie to the hospital. And then during the same time, they're doing the birth certificate, and she says that they name her Evangeline Kody. And so it's a combination of all these different names. So Eva is Caleb's grandma, Ja is for Janelle, Lynn is Caleb's mom, and then for the middle name, they decided to name it Kody. So it's a sort of a testament to 2 people on Caleb's side and 2 people on her side. And then after, having this baby, knowing that there was this complication, then she drops the bomb that she knew from the beginning that her baby was going to be born with some issues. And she says that her baby is born with this disorder called Fatco syndrome, which means that she has limb differences. So she has no fibula in one of her legs, a bowed tibia, she's missing a toe, and then on one of her hands, she's missing 2 fingers and a thumb. So 2 of the fingers are like this, and then one is sort of webbed together like that. So her fingers kind of look like that without anything coming out. And one of the legs is much shorter than anomaly, and they don't really know what happened here. And she insists that she wasn't transferred to the hospital because of the Fatco syndrome, but because she had the TTN complication. Now, TTN is a rare complication. It can happen, but I couldn't find anything that it would have had anything to do with Fatco syndrome. But given the fact that her baby had some issues with limbs and stuff, and a certain percentage of people, according to the rare disease, the National Institute of Health Rare Diseases, say 30% of these people have cardiovascular abnormalities. I would be like, why are you gonna this baby in the hospital? Especially if there were a chance that the baby could have a heart condition. But apparently it had nothing to do with that. And she says that the baby doesn't have anything else wrong except for the limb stuff. In terms of like how this is gonna affect her, Maddy says like nobody wants to find out that their child has anything wrong with them or that will have any hardships, but she doesn't want her to feel like it's a limitation or a crutch. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm a mama to a child that has disabilities. But I think like when we start talking about like we don't want it to be a crutch and we don't want it to be like a limitation, like let's not use that terminology. Like, instead of just saying like she's going to be able to do what she wants or we're going to help her in any way, like don't put a negative there like we don't want her to use it like a crutch, because here's the thing, she's going to have hardships, she's going to need help. Don't already put a negative out there, Maddy, that you don't want her to like use it as a crutch, because sometimes it's going to cause issues, and it's okay for her to understand that, and it's okay for her to realize there's going to be things that she can't do, and accepting is so important. So I really hope that changes. I mean, we obviously say the sky's the limit for him too, but we also are realistic. And so, I don't know. I feel like that's that old mentality, like, don't use it as a crutch. Well, some things you can't control. So, and this was again, sort of this, she said if she wants to do ballet, she can do it. And then Janelle's like, I just like don't see a difference. She's so bright. She's so engaged. It's amazing. Well, Janelle, it didn't affect her brain, so why would it be such a surprise? It's like she has some abnormalities with her limbs, but it didn't affect up here. These people, this is where you can tell that they have not had the best education when it comes to this sort of stuff, and they are still so not trusting of doctors, which is why she's like, hospitals are for emergencies. So apparently the baby has one leg that is way shorter than the other, and so she'll actually have to either have a lengthening procedure or end up getting a prosthetic where they end up amputating part of the leg. One of my friends actually had a daughter that was born with something similar, where one of her legs was kind of like what Evie's dealing with, and they ended up trying to lengthen it and it didn't work. So they ended up going with the prosthetic route. And I will say, my friend's little girl does athletics and is amazing. So apparently it won't make a huge difference until she tries to start like walking. And then obviously in school, like the writing and that kind of stuff, we'll have to have accommodations. So in regards to like how well they're coping, she says that, 2 kids in diapers, and then Caleb's like, anytime I'm overwhelmed, I think about how Kody had 1 million kids. And he talks to Kody, and Kody, they say they had 6 kids at one point in diapers. And then Cody's like, this is the manifestation of why plural marriage is so amazing. One mom had her 2 moms there to come together as in a community to be there for the mom and the baby. And I thought, you could easily get that with moms, sisters. You don't have to have a sister wife to get that sort of community. Just saying, Kody. So then they're like talking about how like they're wrapping up the season, and they're like, well, we still have to close on the house. We got to get moved into the house. And then Christine's like, yeah, we got to get out on that property. And then Cody's like, and we need to heal the relationships in our family, like this cue to Meri. And then Janelle's like, but we're just so lucky and blessed because we have our new grandbaby. And then Christine's like, and hopefully more to come. And that's literally the end. End scene. That's how it ended. Can I just say this season ended with a kerplunk? A kerplunk? I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I don't know. I'm just torn. I'm honest to God, just torn. I don't know how I feel about how this season ended. Nothing was wrapped up. And yes, I do want to say that Christine and Janelle are the only two that are cool with being sister wives. And I will say that the best part about this episode is you do really see the relationship between Christine and Janelle. And I will say that if you are a sister wife and you needed a good one, I would say Christine is probably like the person I would. Wanda says, it takes a village, not a harem, Kody. Exactly. It takes a village, not a harem. Thank you, Wanda. I think Wanda, Wanda wins the internet today. And then Krista says, Katie's voices are the best. Well, thanks. And then, will they have another season? I don't know. I'm sure that the ratings were great for this. So I'm sure there'll be another season. I would expect another season. And Michelle says, I saw Robyn doesn't consider the 3 ladies in a marriage. Yeah, I see Robyn doesn't want to be a sister wife. Meri wants to leave the marriage. And Janelle and Christine are like, we don't need Kody. We have each other. Maybe Janelle and Christine should get married. Really? Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? Christine had the appropriate reaction to Robyn as well when she joined the family. I agree with that too, because she knew that Robyn was the deal breaker and the marriage breaker and the family breaker. So that's where we're at. But you guys, this isn't, I'm sorry the screen keeps freezing, having a little bit of connection issues here, but I'll continue on with my Sister Wives coverage. So just because the season ended does not mean that this will be done. We'll still do updates on what's going on with the family through social media, all that kind of stuff. A lot of them still keep very active on social media. And I'm wondering, I don't know if there's going to be a tell-all. I'm hoping there is, but who knows? It depends on when it was filmed. But that's all I've got. So let me know what your comments are. Thank you guys from all sides, whether it is on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm loving doing these joint streams, and I will be back for later. We're going to talk about Leah Messer. She's got a new book coming out, and I think we're going to talk about, there was one other thing in my mind. I had another option for today, so I'll be back with more in a little while. Bye, guys.